Lions, sharks and bats. We know all of them to be carnivores. But what you have probably never realized is that the Bible actually claims that these animals were vegetarian. I know, that sounds literally impossible. But I think I will be able to build a case to show you that it is much more plausible than you might think. So let's talk about another inconsistency in the Bible. All animals were originally herbivores. Tapeworms, vampire bats, mosquitoes, and barracudas all were strict vegetarians, as they were created by God. But, of course, we now know that there were carnivorous animals millions of years before humans existed. Genesis 1 verse 30. Yeah, let's not talk about what the Bible claims about the age of the earth. Let's bring in evolution and the Big Bang into this book that doesn't even come close to talking about it. For the keen-eyed out there, you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't worry, explanations will be coming in due course. And God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat," and it was so. The biggest problem I have with an inconsistency like this is that atheists tend to bring in evolution into the Bible. But the Bible doesn't even come close to teaching anything remotely the same as evolution. Evolution is a very complicated matter, but here is what I think about it. I agree that speciation and natural selection are real things that do happen in nature, so I do agree that evolution happens. However, the problem I have is when people take these natural processes that we know to be true and then extrapolate them back into history to say that over millions and millions of years everything evolved from a single common ancestor. I think this is taking the observable facts that we know to be true and stretching them in such a way that we have no evidence for. However, I have made a more detailed video about this topic, so if you would like to see the reasoning behind why I believe this, then feel free to go watch the video. The link will be down in the description. So why did I mention all of this? Well, it's because if you bring something into the Bible that we don't know to be 100% true, and then using that to show an inconsistency in the Bible or to disprove the Bible, does not do that at all, because you don't know that it is 100% true. So what I mean in the case of this specific inconsistency is that the Bible never claims that the earth is billions and billions of years old. In fact, the Bible only claims that the earth is around 6,000 years old. And you can even go do your own calculations to prove this. Also, the Bible never claims that all animals that exist today came from a single common ancestor. The Bible claims that these animals were made fully formed. In other words, not both of these ideas can be correct. Either evolution is correct or the Bible is correct with creation. That hasn't stopped a lot of people from trying to reconcile these two things. However, I've never found an argument for this position before that has convinced me that it could even be possibly true. So in order for the author to justify this inconsistency, he has to do one of two things. Either he has to prove that evolution is 100% true, which I think by no means you can do, or you will have to prove that all animals were never vegetarian, despite the fact that the Bible claims the earth is only 6,000 years old. And I think the latter is also a very difficult position to defend. Now, I feel like this explanation is not really good enough, so to provide clarity, think about the situation like this. Science says that evolution by natural selection is the cause of all of the biodiversity we see on Earth today over billions and billions of years. However, the Bible claims that everything around us was made in 6 days around 6,000 years ago. So my problem is when people try to mix these two things together. But this is a problem because both of these things can't be true at the same time. So the argument should rather revolve around the question, is evolution by natural selection a better explanation of the biodiversity we see today, or is the creation by God a better explanation? Once you have decided for yourself which one of the two is a better explanation, this inconsistency won't be a problem at all. Because if you accept the fact that evolution by natural selection is a better explanation, then the Bible is wrong, and so you wouldn't even need to bring up this inconsistency. However, if creation taught by the Bible is a better explanation, then there's also no reason to bring up this inconsistency, because what the Bible says then would just be true. So in this case, I think that creation is a better explanation for what we see today. Therefore, saying that we know carnivores existed millions of years before the earth was even created is a nonsensical argument. I hope that this made my argument a bit more clear, because this is a very difficult concept to explain. Now, a more common argument that I have heard before is that it is impossible for animals like lions, who are carnivores, to change from herbivores to carnivores. Therefore, they would have never been herbivores. Therefore, the Bible is just wrong, and it doesn't even matter if evolution is true or not. To defend my position against this argument, I simply have to bring up a few examples to show that this is actually possible. And you won't believe me, but we do actually have examples of animals changing from carnivores to herbivores. Now, don't worry, because I will also give you an example of it happening the other way around. So, where herbivores will change into carnivores. For the first example, I present to you the Italian wall lizard. These lizards were moved in 1971 from their home islands to other nearby islands. After 36 years, they decided to go back and see what happened to these lizards. And it's quite fascinating that these lizards became omnivores. In fact, they even found that around 2/3 of the lizards' stomachs were filled by plants. Now let's look at an example where this change is the other way around. For these examples, I want to first point out that if you believe in evolution, you have to believe that the change from herbivores to carnivores is possible, because evolution teaches that hominids evolved from herbivorous monkeys. So that is just to show you that if you have a problem with this happening in the Bible, you also need to have a problem with this happening in evolution. Now, for a more practical example, we even see things like this happening today. I was quite fascinated when I found out the fact that deer will occasionally eat meat if the opportunity arises, and this will mainly be small birds. I am sure that deer could, given the right tools, be carnivorous. I think the only reason that they're not carnivorous is because they don't have the ability to kill other animals. Like, for example, how the lion has the ability to kill another animal using its teeth. So I think that this proves that it is at least possible for all of the animals to be herbivores. And now this gave rise to a very interesting thought that I had. You see, in the time period before the flood, all animals were herbivores. But God, with his all-knowing abilities, knew that after the flood, it might not have been possible for animal life to survive if all of the animals kept on being herbivores. So, God gave animals like lions the ability to kill other animals by giving them teeth, speed, claws, and all of those types of things, in order to ensure that these animals will turn to carnivores after the flood. So, keeping all of this in mind, let's review the inconsistency argument and see how we can improve on it. Premise 1. God made all animals to be herbivores. Premise 2. We know carnivores existed millions of years before humans. Conclusion. All of the animals could not have been herbivores. As I said in the beginning of this video, these two premises do not follow from each other as they deal with different issues. If you just decide on one or the other, this would not be a problem at all. However, let me present to you an argument that I think is better in a case like this based on everything that we talked about in this video. Premise 1. God made all animals to be herbivores. Premise 2. Carnivores exist. Premise 3. Herbivores can change into carnivores and vice versa. Premise 4. God gives people and animals the right to eat meat after the flood because of the problems that came with sin. Conclusion. Animals were originally all herbivorous, but because of the fall and the problems that came with it, some animals needed to become carnivores to survive, and therefore we see both types of animals existing today. So there you have it, my brothers and sisters. Another consistent inconsistency. If you would like to know more about Adam and how naming all of the animals is inconsistent in the Bible, then please watch the video on screen, right now. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one. Cheers!